We're gonna start with asking Merritt a couple questions, and then we're gonna start playing through some sections of the series. And maybe we'll start by introducing the people who are asking questions. The first is me, and so the other person is Scott Idle here. Scott was the section leader of the Drumline for 3 years. Yep. 3 years in the early 2000s. Was in the Drumline from 1998 through 2002. Did a bunch of comp lines and has done a whole bunch for the Drumline throughout the years. And has been a close friend of Merritt and mine for over the years. So please welcome Scott Idle. And a quick introduction of Merritt. Merritt is somebody who is affected, I think, on a deep level, every single person who's been through the MSU Drumline. Over the last 50 plus years, he's given of himself in so many ways to everybody here, and he's really somebody that we all look up to. And as I mentioned, he wrote the series, so we'll talk to him a little bit more, but please give it up for Mr. Merritt Lutz.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And then I'd like to give a quick hand to all the people who are back here are alumni of the MSU Drumline. They are graduates and we have various eras represented here. Can we have people from the last decade, so maybe the 2010s? Any of those people here? Raise your hand. How about the 2000 to 2010 era? 1990 to 2000? 1980s? All right,
Brad. All right. Okay.
The 1970s? The 1960s?
Yeah.
And that's as far back as we go? We have any 50s? We don't have any 50s.
No.
Right, so that's just it. Back to the 1960s. Okay, so let's give one hand as a nice unison to the alumni drumline out here.
All right.
So the first question, Merritt, for you is, how did you get to Michigan State, and what was the drumline like back then?
Okay. I've never done this before, so this is disturbing. Anyway, all right, I won't. I hope. So anyway, how I got here was that I was from south of Chicago, and had gone through high school, and a kind of a miserable high school, and a marginal experience. But I had my drums, so I used to play in a lot, it's my life at that time. So, we didn't have any money, so I went to a local college, which sucked. And I was really miserable, and I happened to be watching the sports on Saturday, ball games, and I saw Michigan State. And they used to show the halftime shows all the time. It was really cool, all kinds of close-ups, and it was really, really, and all of a sudden they showed this drumline, and I had a rudimental background, kind of, what's called drum corps today, I had that kind of background, and they were doing it. They were playing that stuff. Now, of course, everybody plays it. At that time, it was, being drum corps stuff was small and kind of nichey. There were a few junior corps, and they were feeders to the senior corps. And there were no national contests other than the American Legion put one on, and a couple of the other organizations put them on. And so you had to be a little bit of a nutcase to like it. And that's me, And so I said, I got to go there. I got to go there. And I'd never been here, never. And I finally got, and I finished my second year at this other place, and I finally got my acceptance. And I went nuts. And I hopped in my car and drove here. I'd never been here before. Checked in at the dorm, Went over to the music building, saw the director of band, said, I'm here. He said, that's good, but who the hell are you? I said, I'm here to be in the drum line. He goes, I'm sorry, you missed it by a year, kid. So I wasn't able to be in it the first year. So I just sat back and watched how they played. And a couple of guys, Jim McDonald and Jim Sprague, were incredible rudimental drummers. And I went back and mimicked them. I just played and played and played. And the next year I got in. And I started with cymbals, and then I went to tenor drum, and then the snare drum, and then the section leader right away. So it was a fast move on the thing. But then I kept it for 3 years, like you did.
Right.
So what was the second part of it?
Yeah, so tell us about the instrumentation of the drum.
Okay. Well, it was very, very different because the technology was so different. There were 6 snares and 4 tenors, 2 cymbals, 2 bass drums. And the snares really at that time, because of the capability of the instrument, were the only ones that really played the difficult stuff, because the tenor drums were mimicked the bass drum parts. And so I didn't like that at all. And so the cymbal players were not skilled instruments, as they said, and the bass drums were different than they are now too. They weren't tuned things. I mean, things are so much greater now. They really are incredible. So
yeah, the next question is, do you know when this cadence started, this series? When did it start?
Well, I thought it started with my predecessor, Joel Leach, who was a fabulous musician, very innovative, and quite a good composer. And I thought that what happened was that I had filled in behind him. We weren't contemporaries. He was before me. He was still around at the university when he was in grad school at the time. And at that time, he didn't work with the Drumline. He was kind of divorced from it. But I thought that was the first one. He wrote the first one, and he wrote the rest of them. Then I filled in another 5 or 6 later on. But I talked to him before I came here, and he said, no, I didn't write the first one. I was there when I got here. And then I ran into Jack McDonald, who was in that Drumline just day before yesterday, and he said, no, I never saw, he was here. The first one it was here, and the third one was here. Dum dum doo da 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 doo. They were here, and the one that was da 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 da, and that one was there too. So maybe God created it. I don't know. We are clueless, about that and a lot of other things. But I don't know. I don't know who wrote those, but it was in the 50s. There's a lot of the other stuff that was written in the 50s too, that circled it. But the rest of the stuff was written by Leach or myself. I think that as we go through it, I can comment on the thing.
Right,
by the way, it's interesting that Leach and I, neither one of us wrote the third one. Was dum dum da 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 da, and we agreed that was our favorite.
Oh.
Isn't that something? And he said, well, that was my favorite, because we were trying to determine who did that one. I said, it's my favorite too.
Cool. So we're gonna actually play the first section of the series.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask you a question about it.
Okay.
Where it came from. So a couple of things. Les Dale, who's the bass drummer in the front. Everybody, give a nice hand for Les, please.
Yeah.
So he said that drum was old when he got there in 1966. All right. So this is the first section of the series.
It's interesting to note that some of the players up here were there when I was there. Gary Milnerich and Don Scott And Dan Servin and Les Dale were all in one of my lines.
Yeah, can you guys raise your hand, the guys who were here with Merritt?
Did I miss somebody? I don't think so. They're great. And they're still great friends to this day. That's one of the things about the Drumline, is you become friends forever. It's family. It always wasn't that way, but it's been that way for the last 20 or 30 years. So it's a tremendous family.
So where does that cadence come from?
Okay, the first one is the one that Leach was kind of clued. So we knew it came from the Skokie Indians. Skokie Indians were a senior drum corps outside of Chicago. And I was told that that was the roll-off for the Skokie Indians. Now, I had seen them in parade. I had never seen them perform in a contest, but I had seen them. They were pretty good, at the time. They were well known at the time. And so the intent of that one was always to kick it off and say, hey, there's more coming here. It's like a roll-off for us too. And the way the present Drumline does it, and we do it when it starts out, and it goes, bam, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. I mean, that's part of the shock, and it's supposed to shock you. And so it's supposed to be very, very powerful, and and it really is. So that's the best I can do on that. I think God wrote that one too. I'm not sure, but he did well. He did well. The second one, you want me to talk about the second one?
And the 5/4.
Yeah, the 5/4. I remember when I was playing tenor drum, they had a big part in the 5/4, and it was actually written. This is a very interesting story because I think that's the most innovative, incredible thing that's in the whole series. I mean, who would march 5? That's crazy, especially with a band. I mean, so I said to Leach, I said, because he wrote it. I said, what happened? This is recently. So he said, well, you remember there was an album out by Dave Brubeck. It was called Time Out. And although every number on there was a different time, 11/8 and, all these different things. And the one that was the drum solo was this one. So he took out a couple measures of that and did it for 4 measures. And he said, I went to Falcone. I said to him, I said, how in the hell did you socialize that one? I said, I used to get in trouble for everyone I put in. They used to scream at me and throw things at me, threatened to take away my scholarship, and he says, oh, I just asked him. I said, well, you must have been better at it than I was. I just quit asking him, just put it in there. And so he said, no, I asked him, and I said, I'm going to try to do it. I said, 5. He said, I rewrote it. It was originally 5/8 on the album. I rewrote it to 5/4, so it fit the whole thing. And he said, I just explained to the band when Falcone said, try it. We'll see what happens. It was like he said to me, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to kill you, type of thing. So he went to the band, he said, there's going to be 4 measures. So in the first one, the first beat is on the left, right? The second time you play it, it's on the right. So you got 5 and then on the right. Next time it's on the left, and the next one's on the right. And he said, I figured that's all they could take. He said, so then it goes back to the front. But I think it's brilliant. I still don't know anybody else that does that kind of stuff. And he wrote it in the 50s. Yeah.
Something to point out, actually, too, you can see in some of the generations the differences, but like the Stairs, actually, the original version was a 7-stroke row, right?
Yeah.
And now we play the 6-tuplet. So the second phrase, Dan, will you demonstrate just the 5/4? And then Buff, why don't you do it, your part? Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Like, so
It's a right hand 7.
Right? Yeah.
It's a right 7.
Yeah.
Which
So
is kind of,
you'll see that as we do this throughout the day. It's kind of neat when you throw it all together, and some things don't necessarily line up, but it's still pretty cool.
but it kind of fits. And the amazing thing was we made a decision early on when we started with the Alumni Band. And by the way, I've been in every Alumni Band, every one, okay? And I haven't missed any. And that's what, 30 years or something like that? I don't know. But anyway, so we made a decision early on that we weren't going to be Nazis about this whole thing and insist on some purity of the series. I mean, that was a conscious decision. We said, no, when the new guys come in, if we can get them in, they can play their stuff. It'll fit because the series is made up and it's never been changed from the basic format of the thing. I mean, it's been modernized and everything else like that, and that's okay. That's okay, but as long as it fits in and it's recognizable, you can play anything you want to play. And that's it's like a living thing. And that's what we did. And it's been very successful based upon that. It continues to evolve, but I can still play it, and all of us in these different generations can play it also. And we understand. Sometimes I'll march, so like yesterday, I'll march down the street and we'd be playing it, and I'll hear something behind me I never heard before because it's from a different generation. I say, wow, that's kind of cool. I wonder if I'll ever hear that again, you know? I mean, it's amazing how the thing just changes. This is a different piece of music than the one that the students play.
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna go ahead and do the next section of the series. So we call this the Swiss section, but it wasn't the Swiss section back in the old days. So let's go ahead and do the next section, please.
Oh, come on, man, come on. Hey, get out of here.
So can you give a little background? This is the one that was not written by
Yeah, this is the one I said that was our favorite. And I think Dan Goff may have written it. He mentions it to me one day. He was an early guy. But it was always started out, it was drum corps. It came out of the Royal Airs out of Chicago, was the story that I was told. And it was not an exact lift or anything, but it's in the spirit of them. And so it was wide open rolls, which is the rudimental way of doing it. And it's the first part of it, before it repeats, is very soft. It's tum tum tee, tum tum tee, tum 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 tum. And then we get to then we go yada, which they still play. And that really leads it to the just wailing, just killing it on the second time. That's why I love just, just like, bam, bam, bam. But it makes it so but the dynamics are very important in that.
Yeah, in the second section, when we see it live with the whole band, all the wind players yell during that second section, which is an incredible thing as well.
But it was never Swiss at the beginning. It was, and that sounds good, Swiss. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but it was just a very, very quiet, open roll kind of thing. I like it the way it is.
Great. Let's go on to the next section. So if you guys can do the drum to drum.
Okay, that's one we inherited too. God did that one too, and I don't know where it's from. I just know that I really don't. I just know that it's a cool thing, and we used to call it the double paradiddle, and so what happened then, and we used to love that thing. We used to really emphasize the dynamics of the thing, and it was very effective. It got everybody's attention, and then it leads into the one I did. The next one, which they're going to play. And before they play it, I just would say, it used to be, it'd start out with 3 snares doing the there were no triplets in it at the time, as there are now. And then you go 3 snares, and then the rest of the section would come in. And it was kind of a lift from the Hawthorne Caballeros. Because I had seen them a lot, and they used that a lot to do the Latin stuff as they came down the field.
Yeah, that's great. How many people here have played something in their drumline that's been inspired by some drum corps?
No, yeah.
I mean, that's like so many of us, and it's the same thing that was happening then.
But the thing about it is that nobody else was doing it, and we were standouts in the whole thing. So we attracted all these great drummers that knew how to play this way. So it was a very strategic thing for us.
Great, let's go ahead and try that. So the double paradiddle section.
Okay, the second one is from a book by Wilcoxon. I didn't do it, Leach did it, okay? And it started out, we would get a ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. The left hand would hit the last two, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And then the second measure, people think is 1, 2. It's not. 1 and up. So it shouldn't be on your right foot. It's before it, you know, and so it's kind of lost that. It's just da-da-da-da, 1, 2. No, da-da-da-da-da, 1 and up. So before the foot goes down. And I think it's a brilliant. Joel was a musician. I was a drummer, and which they were the other musicians will tell you he's not a musician, but I think it is. And he was into everything. So he liked jazz a lot. So it entered a lot of the stuff that he did was jazz. In the Wilcoxon book, he just sent me another. It's still out. It's a jazz book, and it's so he loved using that book. He thought it was terrific, and it's a great thing.
Yeah, all the jazz students at Michigan State play Wilcoxon.
Do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Okay, so let's go on to the next one, which you call.
Well, I call it jungle drums.
Mm-hmm.
Jungle drums is the background in this one. You'll notice it goes dump 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 bump da da da. Now it's been morphed a bit, but the point is, it always was there in some form or other. But when I heard it, I thought, you know, I've heard that thing in a lot of places. So I remember when I was a kid in Illinois, I heard this band, a British big band, which was the Ted Heath Big Band. It was a spectacular jazz band, and so they came and played at Orchestra Hall in Chicago. So I got my dad to take me in there to see it. And I saw them live. They were just incredible. I mean, for me as a kid in high school to see this thing. And the whole band had tom-toms. The drummer was a guy named Ronnie Verrill, who was a very famous drummer at the time. And the whole thing was about this number. Bump, 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 bump. And one section would play it, and then the other section would answer it. So that's what I did. I morphed it over to that. Okay, it was something there that was like it, but it gave me the idea. Okay, so it's like watching that band, and they had everything was black lighted and and everything else like this, and the drummer, of course, in the middle was doing this thing, dump 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 dump. We did that with Tommy Igoe. Remember that in the Drumline? And so it's one section answers another. That's all of what it's about, and it builds. I asked Leach about the rest kick. That's what it's called, with the Go State Go. And he said he didn't write it. But he said he thought it was brilliant because the drummers have been beating the hell out of this thing and wearing themselves out. They needed a little bit of a rest. And the chant came from the drummers. I mean, that was the original when I got there. Okay. Go State Go. He would ask me that question. It was there.
Yeah, so the Go State Go. Yeah, that's fantastic. So maybe just real quick, I'd like to, maybe we could bring the tenors out. So we have the modern tenors over here, which are the sextuplets, the 6 drums that we have here. Yes, thank you. And then we have from before that time they were just single tenors. And so we have Roger and Judy here. Do it for them, please.
Wow.
And we're so glad that they're with us usually every year and playing the single drum part. So we're going to do the next section, which is the solo section, which I do know that Merritt wrote.
Yeah, the next 3 I wrote. So, okay. and this is, I mean, I was, and it's kind of inspired by the Cavaliers, and I used to watch them a lot when I was in Chicago. And they did a lot of stuff with the flow. It just flowed. It was almost like a roll, but it wasn't. As you'll hear. And it was originally intended to be a very open, very, very open. And the first part goes dot 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 dot, and there was 3 snares. And then the next part comes in and repeats that. We added the other 3 snares, so it was a building kind of thing, as you'll hear. And I was living in some dump in Lansing, as a matter of fact, living in the attic. It really was. It was really a dump. And so I woke up one night and wrote it. And I wrote this one, and I wrote the next one, which was and that's a tenor solo. So the intent was to highlight the snares and have no bass drum in that at all, just the snares flowing. And then the next part was supposed to be the highlighting the tenor. If you remember, at the time, it wasn't as much a skill position as it is now. But I didn't like that because I played tenor and I didn't like playing just the bass drum part. So when I wrote this thing, I had to highlight the tenors in the second part. And the third part, I wanted to highlight the bass drums. Just give them it's their shot. And then the cymbals, I thought, I love cymbals. I used to play them myself, and how am I going to leave? I don't want to leave these guys out. What am I going to do? So I said to Dick Lodge, who played cymbals, what do you think we should do with that? And he said, well, I just do a stick, and I'll go dun 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 dun, and I'll just do the same thing we did for jungle drums on the cymbal. I said, what are you going to do? Carry a stick in your pocket? He said, no. I'll design a sling anyway, and we'll wrap it with tape, and then we'll pull it out and we'll do it. And so that's how that all thing happened. And so it was supposed to build, and then it repeats again, and I, it's supposed to be watch the dynamics to it. But I loved it. This is my favorite.
That's great to know where that stick came from on the cymbal, because I think that's definitely MSU. It's an awesome thing.
Yeah, and I couldn't figure out what he was going to do with it. I thought, then he got it on a sling. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. Put it in a box and send it to Dick.
Okay, so let's go ahead and play the solo section of the series, please. The solo section.
All right, so there is another story. It's good. So when I did it, I wrote it and I brought it the next morning, and we did the rehearsal, and we put it in, and it worked perfectly, and we learned it in a little bit of time. So I said, it was a Saturday morning, so I said, we're going to put it in this afternoon. They went, really? Have you checked with Falcon? No, we're putting it in this afternoon. So we go over, we do the march over to the stadium, and we get about halfway, and I go, we're putting it in. And so they said, okay. And so we ran it, and it was great. The band went nuts. They went nuts, applauding and going crazy. So I said, it's in for good, that's it. So we get down to Notre Dame, and so we had to march in South Bend, in the street. And we didn't realize that, see, when you're doing that, you're further apart. Well, the band got out of step. There's no bass drum. There was no bass drum part in the first part. It was just snares. And they're going left, right, left, left. Everybody's stumbling over everybody. And I thought, ooh, I'm going to get it now. I just know I'm going to get it now. And he chased me around the damn bus, screaming at me, you son of a bitch. And then he said, do it again, and I'm going to take your scholarship away from you. I thought, boy, that means something, because I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, And so I said, oh, okay. And that's about the time that it got frozen. He said, I don't want any more of this stuff. somebody's influencing you, they're making you into a bad person. I go, well, you ain't seen nothing yet, you know. But anyway, go ahead.
How often, or when did the solos get written by the leaders? When did that begin? Was that during your era, and they would change frequently? Like the snare solo, for those of you who don't know, each leader of the section writes the solo of that year.
Yeah.
And just to kind of show, let's actually put the tenors on the spot. Let's hear the tenor solo. Go ahead, tab it off.
We're just working it out.
Right, perfect.
So what's your question?
So that solo changes pretty much every year. I mean, obviously the snare line we just play flan drags because we don't have a solo to play that we all know, the same one.
Well, that's the problem. Let me tell you, that's the problem with doing it. I mean, I'm
No,
serious.
no, right.
That's the thing that really bothers me because the series is a treasure that ties all generations together in some form or other. So you totally change it and make it unrecognizable to a past generation, no matter who it is, you've screwed it up. You've screwed up the long line of tradition. You know, that's why.
I'm sorry.
I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking. No. This is pretty much what they play. I don't have.
Universal Alumni.
Yeah. I don't. It's the one that's rewritten every year, and the second time too. I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's none of my
The
business.
funny thing about that's the only section that changes though, which is.
Yeah, but it's worthless to the.
Tell us how you really feel about it.
No, but I mean, it's fun to do, and I'm very happy that it's interesting. But in the end, if it remains, it cuts us off. The series is the language that we have between the drummers of the various generations. So that's why it's important. The basic form, the structure, stays the same. In my opinion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go back up here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be giving my opinion. It's stupid.
Okay, so we have one cadence left. It's a long cadence, kind of a combination of little attempts. But let's go ahead and finish it out. And we do the whole cadence right at the end. So we'll do a whole cadence right at the end. So go ahead and play it through the repetition and go whole cadence at the end, please.
Leach wrote that one. Do I have it here? Hello, yeah. Leach wrote those three before I was in Drumline. So the three before that were mine, and that was later. And so this is earlier. But so I talked to him about it a little bit a couple weeks ago, and I said, "What's the story?" He said, "Well, you know, I was being taught by my teacher." How to do this on a set, how to do Latin stuff on a set with all the drums on the set and everything like that. And he said, so I picked a merengue, a mambo, and a samba. And he said, I mimicked what I did. And so the first one's a samba, which I didn't know. I mean, but that first one's a samba, and he puts it's being done with the different drums to mimic what he'd do on a set. And the second one was a mambo. And the same thing's true, and the third one's a merengue. I thought that was a pie, actually. He didn't think it was funny either when I said it, you know. Short on a sense of humor sometimes, you know. But anyway, so that's what that is. And it's beautifully done, I think. It's just terrific.
Absolutely. So I think what we can do to kind of finish this up is to ask Merritt to go ahead and get up here, and we're going to play the entire series for you one time. So
Before you do, I just want to answer one question that you asked me,
Yes.
and that I think is important. That what? No, that has nothing to do with you, bozo. Anyway. So I just want to say that the importance of doing what you're doing and getting into a group like this and the groups you're in, I think is a lifelong experience. And if I were giving you some advice, I would say stick to it and stay in. Don't quit early. It's the experience of your lifetime. The experience of your lifetime. And look back at it and say, I had a great time. I look at it, and no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult it is, you're living the life, man. You're living the life right now. It's amazing. And the other thing is that when you're in there, you're not just learning to play the drums. You're learning teamwork that you can use later in life. You're learning leadership. You're learning attitude. You're learning all kinds of things that apply to other things in life. So it's very, very valuable. Very valuable.
Thank you, Merritt. While he gets set up, I mean, obviously, let's just thank him again. You're in presence of greatness, Merritt Lutz. And as John alluded to at the very beginning of this, I just want to say very graciously thank you to Merritt on behalf of all of the alumni that have ever played or wore a drum or, you know, in the entire history of the group. So thanks again, Merritt. But let's have some fun.